Hello and welcome, siblings of the storm, to another Tempest Runners transmission, the show where we talk about everything High Republic. I'm Sam,
I'm Liz.
Hi, Manny.
And I am Mike.
and if you aren't already, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. It would really help us out. And leave a comment, and leave a like. Everything like that would really, really help us out. So, first things first, what are we talking about today? We are talking about Marchion Ro, the big baddie villain of the High Republic, the leader of the Nihil, the Eye of the Nihil. He's the man, he's the myth, he's the legend, and we're talking about his backstory today. I think many people have theories about Marchion and what he's all about and where his story's going to go. So I don't think we're going to be short of opinions here. So let's just start right off the bat. Manny, what is your take on the Marchion Ro story and what do you think is involved with his history, to do with like the hints we might have of his past?
So, I've only read Light of the Jedi so far. I'm working on the comics and the other books. Just started those. So there may be some information that contradicts my thoughts.
Good disclaimer.
If so, I'll address that next episode. But so some ideas I have. So I think that Marchion or his family are in some way related to the Sith,
Ooh.
because at the end, his whole Jedi torture corruption chamber feels like something. Did he mention that it was like something his family told him? If he ever captured a Jedi?
If I remember correctly, he said his family or his people have a lot of experience dealing with Jedi.
Yeah, I think he was like in a torture chamber where it's like, I need you to not be able to like gather your thoughts. I need you to be in a perpetual state of pain.
Right, which is
Right.
really fucked up, by the way. It's really horrible.
Yeah, so I think that's a relic from. So we know that the Old Republic lore is sort of canon. So crackpot theory. So I think definitely he's going to be tied to the Sith, and maybe they'll use that connection to launch an Old Republic series once the High Republic is finished up.
That's smart. That would be smart.
But if they don't do that, instead, crackpot theory, he's going to turn into Darth Plagueis, so that they can connect it to the prequels, and they can get the prequel community to be like, whoa, this is actually a prequel book, and then everybody will read it.
But then people will be like, well, it wasn't like the Legends prequel books, so therefore not canon.
No, they're gonna get James Luceno to write a Marchion Ro book and just make it Plagueis too.
They're gonna rewrite the whole thing, but not make him a Mune or a Mun this time around.
He's
gonna be different. It's gonna be a huge plot twist. Yeah, and think about it. We have Darth Maul. Darth Maul had a criminal syndicate, right? So maybe he was inspired by Plagueis, who had his own criminal syndicate, and he wanted to be like him.
Because you know how, like, supposedly George Lucas's original plan of the sequel was to have Maul as, like, the crime syndicate leader.
That was an idea he had, yeah.
Right, which I'm not going to state my opinion on that idea, and I hope my silence on it speaks volumes about what I think of that idea. But I'm just going to say that I think done in isolation, with someone like Marchion Ro, that could actually work, and maybe they are kind of doing that. Maybe the Nihil are simply the kind of Phase 1 villains, and we're going to see him expand out his criminal empire throughout the course of the thing. So yeah, you might be right about that, Manny.
Yeah, I do think that in some way, this has to lead into the rise of the Sith in the prequels, because that's where this is all going in 200 years.
Yeah.
And there's that Acolyte TV show, that's something about the dark side. I mean, at the very least, Marchion Ro has something to do with the dark side. His family could be like the Night Sisters on Dathomir.
Yeah, like kind of linked to the Force.
Yeah, like they're linked. They're not officially Jedi or Sith, but they're up to stuff. But I think it'd be a bigger impact if he's revealed to be a Sith, or his family used to be in the Sith Empire or something like that.
The thought definitely crossed my mind. Family with a history of dealing with Jedi, losing their empire,
and the staff he had with engravings on it. Kind of reminded me
rod.
The rod. That reminded me of the mural in Palpatine's office of the war.
I said. That's literally what I told
I know his mural is of an ancient war, and he has a ton of Sith artifacts in his office.
Sith War.
At least in Legends, he had a ton of Sith artifacts in his office, and I
For sure.
thought that was weird. So that connection also came up.
I could totally see that him being like a Sith, maybe becoming Darth Plagueis. That would be like a definite twist that would get people amped. I feel like that would be like a big thing.
Yeah, or maybe the Jedi he captured becomes his apprentice, and then he becomes Darth Plagueis. Loading Greatstorm is Darth Plagueis.
Ooh,
everybody's Darth Plagueis.
Everyone's Darth Plagueis.
He's gonna show up. That's a given. So might as well make it a twist.
Well, I have a theory about Loading Greatstorm, what Loading Greatstorm, that will tie into my my explanation. Do you have anything more to add, Manny, about your little theory about the Plagueis theory, or?
Yeah, no, it's all Darth Plagueis. It always has been.
I like it. I do like it. Let's go Liz next. What's your theory on Marchion Ro?
It's pretty much the same. I think he's descended from Sith royalty.
Mm.
Everything with like the Acolyte show, and like we know the Acolyte show is gonna be like a High Republic, but like, Sith-based High Republic.
And like towards the end of it as well.
Yeah, exactly. So like it just all lines up with the Sith Rising, and then what we know now, prequels happening. It just all fits in the timeline that we know. My first indication of that was the markings on his staff when I was listening to it. I was listening to it with Manny, and like the Sith markings that we see. Where do we see them at? I know there's like a book in Galaxy's Edge. It's just like a notebook, but inside are like the Sith letters, like the alphabet, and that's exactly what I imagined when I like thought of the staff.
Yeah.
Although the staff could be like completely different. And I think it did say it had like markings of pictures and stuff like that on it.
I thought, if I remember correctly, it had like faces.
Yeah, it had faces,
like screaming faces.
Yeah, and that's when I thought of the picture in Palpatine's office.
Yeah,
or like that mural thing.
Right.
Yeah, again, I think Sith royalty, he's gonna probably make that Jedi his apprentice, and or at least corrupt him or do some weird like Sith voodoo thing on him, you know.
Sure.
Or maybe just torture him and kill him. I don't know.
It is interesting. I have a theory on what he's going to do with Loden Greystone, but I'll get onto that later. It is interesting that he doesn't seem to have any force powers as of yet, at least not in a traditional sense. Instead of maybe... This is separate to my theory, by the way, but one theory I did have while reading the book was that I thought that maybe instead of having Loden Greystone be his apprentice, what if he wants Loden Greystone to be his master? And he's trying to corrupt him.
That is an interesting twist, and I love it.
Him.
Yeah.
That makes sense, because he doesn't have a teacher.
Right.
Like, maybe he feels all this power inside himself, but he doesn't know how to use it.
Right, so
he's scared to, like, use it in front of the other people because, you know, they hate Jedi. That's what he taught them, to hate Jedi. But then if he corrupts one of them and makes them teach him, then he could be like, oh yeah, we're powerful now, we literally have their power, but we can use it for whatever we want.
Ruler 3 becomes the Ruler 2, you know? He's gonna fucking chop off Lorna Dee's head and Pan-Ata's head, and he's gonna rule with Loden Greatstorm and become the Sith, you know?
Maybe, I think once he learns everything from Loden, he'll probably kill him. That's literally the rule of 2, but I feel like once he learns basics, he probably will just off him.
Potentially.
Yeah. At least I'm hoping. I want to see bloodshed in this. Like, I know we have already, but I want to see some major characters die.
Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like when the characters... You know, one of my big problems with Light of the Jedi was I feel like, in terms of the heroes, the protagonists, it wasn't really like a centered story, and I feel like when characters died... I have seen people say, oh man, I was so distraught when Jorah Molly died, or when the Duros Jedi died, I can't even remember her name. But to me, it was like, they just felt like side characters.
Hey, she had a sticker in the Great Jedi Rescue.
Yo, yeah.
Well, I apologize.
Yeah.
She has her place in the story, mind you.
If she had a sticker, I apologize. Therefore,
that's how you know they're a main character.
They have a sticker, but she still died.
I think that it's trying to show a lot of death of characters we are not yet attached to. It's trying to do the Game of Thrones thing, right? Where it's like anyone can die,
safe.
And then like in the beginning, it's like these not nobodies, but these characters we aren't attached to die first,
Sure.
and then it's like okay, everyone's dying, and then we have a battle, and then like, oh, a main character dies. Oh, what's gonna happen?
In a horrific way. Gets beheaded.
Yeah. I just finished reading the IDW comics.
Yeah, I haven't read those yet, so.
Yeah, we do get some Nihil shenanigans.
Spoilers, by the way.
In there, and it's pretty good. I mean, I won't ruin what the plot twist is gonna be, but
Oh, are you saying there's plot twists in this
not
comic?
a plot twist,
okay.
But
because I've not read the comics yet, so...
Yeah, you need to read them. It's really good so far.
We will be doing episodes discussing the comics, and especially once they come out. So, you know, anyone that's listening in the audience into the comics and wants to hear us talk about them, don't worry. Fully on the comic train. Just right now, the only thing I've read from High Republic, ironically doing a podcast about it, is Light of the Jedi so far. But I will catch up on many of the other stuff. Yeah, so, I mean, anything else you want to add, Liz?
Just hoping Sith royalty...
You want it to like connect to like the bigger picture.
Yes, I want it to connect to the bigger picture.
Okay.
That's what I'm hoping.
I respect that. Nice, I like it. I love it. What about you, Mike? Do you have any theories on Marchion Ro?
I do, and in fact, it may be a bit derivative of Liz and Manny, but you know what? It's got some nuances to it.
Hey, we're 3 for 3 so far. We're 3 for 3, so this could be going somewhere. Could be onto something.
Yes, definitely. So we got to remember that the whole point of Project
Luminous, right?
Project Luminous is that this is going to be prequels. It's going to be showing us a non-Sith threat to the Jedi. And in reality, I want the Nihil to be their own thing. I want Marchion to be his own character. To think, wow, there are people out there with the will and pure badassery to take on the Jedi. But if you were alive to see Episode 8 and then the subsequent episode, you learn that the Sith are behind everything. And we know that it's already been teased that the Acolyte's going to come out. So I think the Nihil are to the Sith what the First Order is to the Galactic Empire.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I don't think Marchion is of Sith royalty, nor do I think he is Sith. But I think the Nihil, these marauders, they're being manipulated by the Sith, perhaps by the Nameless, who I think were teased in Claudia Gray's Jedi Lost. What's the name of that novel? Anyway, I think they're being manipulated, and we'll see in a bit. But I think Marchion, he is Force sensitive to the same extent that as Admiral Holdo and Han Solo. But I think. Sure. Though he's not Sith, I think he is of the Sith, like Ochi from Rise of Skywalker, and the latest Darth Vader comic. So he's an assassin. He's doing things on behalf of the Sith, but he is not Sith himself.
You think Marchion? Do you think Marchion answers to a higher power?
I don't think.
As of right now, where we are in the story, do you think?
I don't think so. I don't think you're gonna get an epilogue scene in the next novel where he turns on a hologram. Yeah. Yeah,
Snoke, or
my master,
Snoke, you know what I mean,
my master, the great disaster.
Darth Plagueis.
Right. No, I think he thinks he is his own man. I think he thinks he is in control here, but I really think that he is a tool. He is a tool for the Sith, because we know that the Old Republic is being fleshed out in bits and pieces in current canon. And and that in the beginning of Episode 1, Yoda, the smartest, the wisest, arguably, of all the Jedi, he thinks that there's only 2 Sith left, and that the Sith are just
But
gone.
they also think that the Sith are extinct, so we know the Sith can't really reveal themselves.
Right.
Because I think they say in The Phantom Menace that the Sith have been extinct for 1,000 years, and when Maul comes back and reveals that he's got a red lightsaber and that he's a Sith, they're kind of dubious to the fact that there might be Sith. So whoever the Sith are, if they are in any way prevalent in the High Republic, they've kind of got to keep a low profile.
Definitely. And I think what the Nihil ultimately are supposed to do, along with the Drengir and I guess the Nameless, are ultimately to pepper down the Jedi to get them to turn a blind eye to the Sith's machinations at this time. Because we know they're there somewhere. We just don't know yet. And Marchion is part of that. And I think the relic he has, the purple one that Yoda... Okay, well, minor spoilers. Yoda knows it exists. So the artifact, I think that is a Sith artifact. I'm just going to go and say it. It's not a holocron.
Yeah.
I think it may be a Sith weapon. How exactly it is utilized, I have no idea. But if I can speculate, just with the air of speculation I have, I think it may have something to do with Darth Nihilus from the old KOTOR games. From the old Knights of the Old Republic.
That would... The Nihil, Darth Nihilus...
Right.
Yeah. I know it's linked by the philosophy of nihilism and stuff like that, maybe, but I don't know. I mean, are the Nihil really that linked? I don't know.
Right.
But
because the design on the thing, it shows a bunch of people screaming faces in agony, chains and fire, and so I think maybe either it is some aspect of Darth Nihilus, some aspect of his soul, or perhaps the souls he may have captured. Assuming that he is canon and made canon eventually, but I think it is without a doubt a Sith weapon that somehow it came into his and his father's hands.
The only thing that I would counter your theory with is that it's stated in Light of the Jedi that Asgar Ro, who was Marchion's father, they found the Nihil. The Nihil were already a pre-existing thing before they found them, and they actually shaped them into something. So, but I think the Purple Rod might be more linked to Marchion's people. And we know that Marchion's name isn't actually Marchion Ro, it's something else. He doesn't reveal what it is, which is interesting in itself. Do you have any like kind of explanation as to that? Or
Well, I
do you
mean,
think that, like,
I do speculate he is force sensitive, and according to the description, on top of the fire and the chains and all that stuff, it's like glowing, like it's breathing, it's alive, and that just
It's like
screams
purple, isn't it? It's like glowing purple.
glowing
Which, to
purple.
be fair, with the Sith strike me as more like red. I'm thinking maybe purple might imply that it is something kind of different.
Very well
I'll get
could
onto
be.
my theory in it.
Yeah, very well could be, and it's even up to like in the latest comic. I will just say, read the latest issue of High Republic Adventures #2, and
Okay.
I think it requires force sensitivity to activate.
And he does he activate it? Unless that's why he wants load.
Very possible, but at this point, I'm just speculating.
No, that's really important information. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Do you have anything more to add to it before I get onto my theory?
Nope.
My mega theory?
Nope, take it away.
Okay. So, I'm gonna throw a spanner in the works here. I'm gonna deviate from the common course of thinking here. I'm gonna say that Marchion Ro is not linked to the Sith, nor will he ever be.
And I hope so. I hope that's the case.
Maybe that's more like wishful thinking. Because I kind of hope... Okay, so when we saw like the Sith are linked to everything in the sequel trilogy, right? That kind of makes sense because it's the sequel trilogy, and if you look at it as like story between the Jedi and the Sith, it works as the closing arc of this 9-part story.
Right.
When you're looking at the High Republic, I do kind of wish it to be something different and something separate. And I think Star Wars does sometimes run the risk of making itself a little bit too small with cameos and all that nonsense. And it can really end up hurting itself, I think. It can become a little bit too patting itself on the back. And I do kind of hope that we're kind of dealing with something new, because the Nihil really do feel like something new and fresh. And Marchion feels like something new and fresh. And I think to maybe just make them Sith, or something kind of linked to the Sith, might be a little bit disappointing for me, personally. Depending on how it's done. So... my theory on Marchion. I think potentially what's happened is, whether or not he was alive at this time or not, whether he was a kid, whether he was not born, I think that his people, the Marchion Ro people, the Ro race, I'll call them, because we don't actually know what they are, I think they were getting involved in some less than savoury business. But they weren't necessarily harming anyone, it was just more of like a rising threat. Maybe their family had a history of it, maybe like their people had a history of it, but they themselves maybe weren't doing anything too bad. But definitely the Jedi were keeping an eye on them because they feel like there's disturbance in the Force, and they're like, not really feeling too good about that. So the Jedi come over, and they're like, hey guys, we try not to intervene too much, but this kind of shenanigans of what you're doing right now, not okay, we can't really abide by it, so can you please stop? I think it's something to do with the purple staff.
Well, just a real quick to jump in. You think the Jedi are aware of the Rose, or like the Nihil, or like the Nihil because of the Rose?
This timeline would take place like quite a while before the events of Light of the
Got
Jedi.
you.
When Marchion Ro's planet and people still exist. And I think the Jedi came over to them, and they could feel the disturbance in the Force, and Ro's people were still kind of... so this isn't the Nihil, this is like his actual like home planet race, right?
Right.
And the Jedi come over, and they say, stop this. And then the Ro race is like, no, like, you can't tell us what to do, we're our own people. And it eventually escalates, and the Jedi that are there choose to essentially massacre the Ro race of people, because it's like a similar thing to like what Mace Windu was like with Palpatine, when he's like, it's too dangerous to be kept alive, and he has to kill him. Because I think the Jedi in the High Republic era almost seem to be like almost like too perfect. And to me, that always screams, when anything's too perfect, it screams to me that they're hiding something.
Right, there's going to be a fall.
Swept under the carpet. Right. And I think it's not like some like uber conspiracy that Yoda's aware of, maybe, but I think there was a select few Jedi. I think it's very possible that we'll get onto this maybe in another episode, but I think it's very possible that Master Porter Engle was involved in this.
Oh yeah, he would know.
Because he likes the thrill of battle, he's left it all behind, but he kind of has a taste for it, right? And I'm thinking that maybe he was involved in this massacre, and it kind of like troubled him, and he kind of stepped away from like the fighting of the Jedi. But then when he's called back to it, he enjoys it almost. In the book, he's described as almost enjoying the thrill of battle. And I think that the Ro race was completely obliterated, save from Marchion's grandmother, his father, and depending on the timeline, maybe Marchion's mother as well, if Marchion was born, or maybe Marchion's grandfather. It really depends when this took place. But either way, so they escape on the Gaze Electric, right? But with like very, very few of the race, like a handful of their people, their family. Somehow they manage to get away. And Marchion, or Marchion's father, witnesses the kind of savagery of the Jedi firsthand. And he teaches Marchion about this, and he's like, yeah, the Jedi, like, they're not what you think they are. They're these kind of Because they are and they aren't, right? If they did that, then they are kind of they do have a savagery to them, but also at the same time, they were also maybe the Ro race was actually up to something kind of bad, and I'm not trying to justify the Jedi's actions if this is the case, but maybe there's probably like two halves of the story, right? Two versions of the story. So I think that Marchion now has like a vendetta against the Jedi, and I think this is all about him getting his own back on the Jedi from what he did to his people.
Right, absolutely. And I was going to say, like, that begs the question. Like, we were hinting at, like, the fall of the High Republic, how they eventually go from, like, the white and gold Jedi they are now to, like, the black, brown robes that they're in the prequels. But now it begs the question, why are they all, like, high and mighty and, like, trying to be so, like, King Arthur's Knights of the Round Temple now all of a sudden?
Like angelic.
Yeah,
kind of,
like, it feels like they're kind of...
bringers of peace.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to rebrand themselves in a way. And at first I felt like this is because of the canon Mandalorian Wars, because we know there was a Mandalorian Wars in this canon's version of the Old Republic, and I thought, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But that also adds credence, like maybe on top of like massacring the Mandalorians and blowing up their planets, like to the point of where there's only a single city left. Maybe they went out and exterminated other races and civilizations that they thought was a threat. They were soldiers in this case, and not even like peacekeepers. So that actually, it makes a lot of sense when you think about it.
Yeah. Because I don't really like saying the Jedi, Anakin, like the Jedi are evil kind of thing, but maybe, these things go through like phases in their history where it might be less than good what they're doing. And they might be like thinking they're acting on the greater good, but actually not. And I think that what Marchion's tale could be is actually like a tale of destruction only breeds more destruction. So the Jedi destroyed Marchion's planet, and now Marchion's hellbent on destroying the Jedi and the Republic and everything they stand for. And I think his plan for Loden Greatstorm is to turn him into a monster, into a mindless machine with this contraption that he's made that kind of like makes his mind kind of unsteady. And he's gonna like show people, because everyone kind of thinks, if everyone in like the society of the High Republic thinks that the Jedi are like these perfect angelic beings sent from the Force itself, but Marchion in his head he's thinking, no, they're actually like monsters. He's gonna construct his own monster, and he's gonna show the galaxy what the Jedi truly are, even if he has to construct that himself.
Absolutely.
And yeah, that's my theory for what he wants to do.
No.
I'm probably way wrong.
No,
but
I can tell you, I think you're like 90% right, because in the first Knights of the Old Republic, minor spoilers to anyone who hasn't played that, but it's not that big. It's the main character, the main antagonist kidnaps one of the protagonist Jedi, and for that specific reason you said, to show that the Jedi are fallible. And this particular Jedi protagonist was like I am better than you, like kind of the pretentious Mace Windu-y Jedi of the prequels. So what he did was subjected her to like torture, like a never-ending torture, for the sake of her becoming angry and becoming a mindless, well, not necessarily mindless, but like dark side thinking Jedi, to show that even the highest among you can, come down, crawl in the mud with us. So I think, regardless of like whether he's Sith or not, I think that point at least is correct.
Right. Because because I'm always about, like, whenever I think of, like, anything to do in a story, it's always like, what's going to give us the most drama, right? And I'm thinking that if he turns Loden into a monster, now, what will happen with Loden, I don't know. I have theories on that. I have theories that through trying to corrupt Loden, I think that Loden might start to, quote-unquote, corrupt Marchion, and it will kind of give him a call to the light. Whether or not he'll accept that or not, because he obviously has a preconceived idea of what the Jedi are, and maybe Loden will show him a different idea, and that will maybe rub Marchion the wrong way. I think it would also give Bell, who I kind of feel maybe will be set up to be like one of the main protagonists, like one of the like really core protagonists of this entire saga of the High Republic. It would really set him up to have a great kind of dynamic with Marchion, who is like the main villain, and I think that could be really, really promising. Yeah, no, that's basically essentially my theory of what happened with Marchion's people, and I think it would add a nice layer of complexity. And it's a bit dangerous adding grey morality to Star Wars, but I think it does work when it can be done right.
Definitely. I hope your theory is the one that turns out true. Honestly, I hope he is his own character, and I hope he continues being built up as the kind of like Ben Solo-esque anti-hero that had something bad done to him. He's doing bad, but he has his reasons.
Right. The one thing I will say about Marchion is he does seem kind of cruel. He's very cruel to Mari Santeca. He's very... I think a lot of people have said... Because with Star Wars, with villains, there's always the idea, will they be redeemed? And I'm all for any villain being redeemed, But I don't believe in characters deserving redemption. I don't believe redemption is something you deserve. I believe redemption is something that you... It's a change of mindset, basically. It's just the willingness to do the right thing. There's no sin that's too great for redemption. But obviously Marchion does seem to take a little bit of sadistic satisfaction in some of the things he commits. And we'll have to see where that goes. But I think that would be an interesting take if they actually did redeem him from that. Simply because I like the idea that pain and anger can cause people to do some horrendous things, but that doesn't mean they qualify less as people.
I will add, though, he has killed more people than the Emperor and like Ben Solo right now combined with the Great Emergence. So let's see how he is redeemed from that.
Hey, man, like I said, it's not a tally of sins. It's a change of mindset. So we really will see. But we'll see. I mean, I'm not banking on his redemption, but I do think Star Wars has a big theme in redeeming villains and how pain is the kind of bringer of all bad things. And anyway, I think that might wrap us up. Like I said before, if you want to give us a like, comment, subscribe, please do. Help us out a lot. Please join us on r/Great Hall of the Nihil to talk with us on our subreddit, or join the Starlight Beacon Discord group, which I will link in the description. But thank you all for joining us. We hope you keep riding the storm all the way to join us for the next episode. And remember, we are all the Nihil. See you next time.